Any fan of Belgian beer has seen ones with descriptors like barnyard or horse blanket or even funky. What do these mean and why should you try them anyways? Find out on today's episode of Craft Course. Here in the US, sour beer may seem like a relatively new phenomenon, with most breweries making one or two these days. For most of human history though, before modern sanitization methods, a little bit of acidity was actually pretty common in beer, mostly due to infection by various wild yeast and bacteria. For most beers, this was still a relatively small part of their overall flavor profile. But for some, that pucker, that was exactly what they were looking for, and few places did it as well as Belgium. Now, while Belgium might not be the only place to find sour beer, it is the place to find one of the most important styles of sour beer, Lambic. Now, Lambic differs from other beers in a few ways. For one, it's a wheat beer, which isn't super unique in and of itself, but bear with me here. When making Lambic, one of the most important steps is that rather than cooling the beer down traditionally and adding yeast to the unfermented wort, instead they move it to large shallow troughs called cool ships, which cools the beer down more slowly and allows it to become infected with wild yeast and bacteria from the air around us. This kicks off fermentation in a little bit different way, with things like lactobacillus and pediococcus and Brettanomyces playing a huge role in flavor development. Now, while it might sound a little unsanitary having all of this wild yeast and bacteria in there, just keep in mind that you breathe these in every single time you take a breath. They're always around us. Really makes the phrase, a breath of fresh air, seem a little weirder now, doesn't it? After fermentation begins, Lambic is then placed in barrels for a while. A long while. Now, some breweries will release this young Lambic after only a year, but most of it goes into a different style of beer called Gueuze, which is a blend of young and old Lambic, typically 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and 3-year-old Lambic that's then re-fermented in the bottle. This gives it some of the liveliness of a younger beer with all the deep complexities of an older beer. So what do Lambic and Gueuze taste like exactly? Well, the answer is complex. There's a lot going on in them with flavors developed over the course of 2 or even 3 years, so there's a lot to dissect, with every sip revealing little nuances that weren't there in the one before. But you can expect acidity, not as bracingly acidic as some other sour styles, but definitely a little on the tart side. In addition to that, expect some earthy, grassy notes that might seem more at home in a barn than in your glass. At the end of the day though, the best thing that you can do is try one yourself and just let your palate explore. You'd be amazed what you might pick up. Now, while that might not sound all that appetizing, with a little bit of patience, you'll be rewarded with some of the world's greatest beers, with complexity and nuance on par with any of the world's fine wines. So if you ever see Cantillon or Drie on the shelves, do yourself a favor. Take one home, crack it open, and enjoy it with some friends. You won't regret it. Trust me. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe and stay positive. Craft Course was recorded at Dust Off Brewing Company in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm Aaron Gore, our producer is Ernest Stevenson, and if you like more great content, check us out at www.beerwith.me. Any fan of Belgian beer has seen ones like boom, 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 boom. Just not gonna do that, all right. A little bit of acidity was actually pretty common in beer due to infection by wild yeast and bacteria. Yes, it was. Perfect timing. Thank you, airplane. Now, while sour beer may not be only found in Belgium, yep. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, God. Oh. The Office, Craft Beer Edition.